Hey, Adrian.
Or watching TV, or
Oh, yeah.
sitting at the table, or wherever.
Some bitch knows what he's doing.
I probably shouldn't go up on water, huh?
I don't fuck that. Don't ask me, I'm the worst.
Then I have to pee as soon as I get in there.
This is it.
Hey fellas, how's it going?
Good.
Good.
Going
Good to
good,
see you.
and thanks for your messages.
Yeah, you're welcome. It's very
Yeah.
exciting.
Sit down.
Yeah, that was a good slideshow.
What's wrong?
Good.
The way
Okay,
it's set
great.
up.
Good,
Yes.
good, good. Good. Glad you like it. I think it incorporated everything from our conversation from yesterday. So
But you
now we
to
just
come
have
back
to-
in time to pick me up.
there's a lot of background
Don't we
noise.
stand outside.
Well, that's just my parents talking.
Okay, well, people are going to be able to hear
I
that.
know.
So are you going to mute or?
Yeah.
Okay. All right, great.
It's just I
Um,
haven't yet because we're just in this phase.
Totally fine. Totally fine.
Between the audience, yeah.
So any last minute questions or anything you want to cover before we get started?
Oh, are you gonna make us co-host?
Oh, thank you. Yeah. I'm gonna enable.
Because there was something I was gonna do so that so there's no side convos. So it's
Okay.
all public. I was gonna rig the inbox to be completely opened.
Okay, you
To
rock it.
everyone, to
Okay.
everyone instead of direct messages.
Exactly.
Okay.
I
All right.
mean, because I mean, we all deserve to see what's going on because this is about North Star
Right,
and
right.
stuff.
Yeah, totally.
So
Okay.
all right, hold on. Let's
I'm gonna go get a
see.
water. I'll be right back.
Okay.
Okay.
But show me that you put me on your email.
Okay, let's see. Everyone.
I go, let's talk to you.
Okay, let's see if it did it. Yes, good.
It's 11:56, so we all start exactly at 12 o'clock. I
Yep.
guess. And then it looks like we have
Six people in the waiting room.
Yep. You're on top of it. That's great.
Yep. Oops, nope, I don't want that. Let's see. Okay, I think another thing I'm gonna do
Mm-hmm.
is also rig it where it's yep, it's already on there. Mute upon entry. I wonder if I'll have to ask Adrian about deactivating allowing them to unmute on. Hey Adrian, so that we can have a orderly deal, would it be appropriate where for people where people have to do the raise of hands or something, take off the part where people can just unmute themselves, or should we leave that on? Because if they do, then we can just basically hit unmute and then they unmute. What do you think?
I'm fine with whatever you all want to do. I don't know if that question was directed at me, but
Well, yeah, because
Yeah.
I was wanting to get your opinion. Because the best thing where it says allow participant to unmute themselves is they can unmute themselves, but then everyone can unmute and we want to try to keep it ordered. So raise of hands, Mike Raymond don't know how to use the digital, but he raises his hand.
Yeah.
It's just we would have to be on top of keeping an eye out on who has raised hands and all that.
Because that would help with the background noise and all of that, basically. And
Because
just,
the feature that says mute participants upon entry mutes them like that, which isn't a bonus. So
I
maybe,
usually click that. That's usually clicked when I set up the meeting.
yeah, so would it be an idea to,
I'm great with however you guys want to do it, whatever you want to do.
okay, so I went ahead and deactivated it, so we just have to keep on plus do our 15-minute thing with everyone and doing all that.
Wonderful. I need to send the Zoom link to Robert Wardell on Facebook Messenger, so bear with me.
Yeah,
Feel
I
free
know
to
the
start-
only person really quick before we let him in
Yeah.
is, I know the only person who's gonna have a fit about that is, you know who, with the capital K,
Kyle. Kyle
A fit
Matheson.
about what?
about the whole mute and controlling the unmutation of everyone unmuting.
Okay.
It's
That's
Krista.
just, that's just the way that he is. It's not like
No,
we're,
not him,
whatever.
Krista.
Yeah.
She
Oh,
would.
Krista.
But all right,
Excuse
I'm
me.
gonna hit the let them all in.
Okay.
All
Let 'em
right,
all in.
smile
Open
on
the
us.
floodgate.
Let's do this.
Do you guys want me to share the screen and pull up mine, or do you want to do it?
Yes, please. I think it'd be
Okay.
better off of yours.
Okay.
Good
go ahead.
morning, everyone. Welcome to our Ombuds meeting. And just to
Omnibus.
let
Omnibus, not
Ombuds
ombud.
meeting, excuse me.
That's okay.
But just to let everyone all know, I'm gonna be here for about an hour and then I have to slip away for a medical appointment at 2 this afternoon. So my awesome team, Anthony and Adrian will take over after I leave and doing that. Just to let everyone know, and I'm doing great.
Okay. So let's see. All right, view. Meeting more people.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right.
But I don't even understand.
All right, you want to start it off?
Sure. Well, I did it. Welcome. Want to go to the next slide? Thank you. Awesome. A little housekeeping for everyone. There will be timekeeping throughout the meeting. That we'll be doing. Mute when not talking. We will have a 10-minute check-ins for the AACU users. Please use the chat box if you have comments and stuff like that, and that will be basically everything around the whole North Star work group that we're doing. And also take space and make space for ourselves to be comfortable with everything, because this is what we are working on and doing. So welcome to the meeting again, and that's our housekeeping. So we will be doing that. Anthony, you want to go through the agenda?
Yes, I will. As we already have, 12 to 12:05 will be housekeeping, 12:05 to 12:10, timeline review with Adrian, 10 after to 10 or 12:10 to 12:20, legislative updates with Eric and myself, 12:20 to 12:25. Looking forward with Adrian, 12:25 to 1. Work group updates with me and Eric. Then community check-ins with me and Adrian, where we will focus on trying to get everyone's voice heard on the IDD, on how everyone feels, people of color on how you feel, the LGBTQ community, and parents. And then me and Adrian will, and usually we would end at 12:30 or 1:30, but me and Adrian are going to be staying an additional 30 minutes for questions and answers. Next page, please. All right. You want to do that one, Eric?
Yes, thank you, Anthony. All right, we have some requests for two prime and co-sponsors of our bills have been sent to Senator Emily Radal, District 26, Representative Jamal Taylor, District 30, Senator John Braun, Republican 20, Representative Michelle Calder, District 26.
Thanks. And Eric, there's a typo on there. Representative Caldier is a Republican out of the 26, and
Oh,
Senator Randall's a
excuse me,
Democrat out of the
Republican.
26. Yeah. Sorry.
Okay, thank
That's
you.
my bad.
No worries. Thank you for that. Next slide. Awesome. Anthony, you want to go through this slide? Or we can do
And
this
for
together?
yes, legislative updates will be request to hear from North Star Bills and having been sent to Representative Peterson, Chair of the Human Services Committee, and Representative Hanson, Chair of the Civil Rights and Judiciary Committee, Representative Fay, Chair of the Transportation Committee, and Representative Ellen Cody, Chair of the Health Care Committee, and Representative Thuringer, Chair of the Capital Budget Committee. Next slide, please. Eric.
All right. Legislative considerations. So here's a few of them. We're headed into a short session this year, meaning the sessions will only last for 60 days. Short sessions can be a hard time to pass big legislation, but short session can be a great time to start educating legislators on big topics. Short sessions typically see only small budget adjustments, but this is a short session, has great economic forecast, meaning more money available for services. Woohoo. Next slide, please. Adrian, you want to do this slide?
Hi. Yeah, sorry, I went out of order a little bit there. I apologize.
okay. No worries.
So great, very good legislative overview. And Anthony and Eric, I wonder if you wanted to go back to the slide where you were talking about the prime and co-sponsors of the bill and give folks an update on the responses that we received from each of the offices.
Sure.
Yeah, sure.
Okay. So what did we hear from Senator Randall?
Senator Randall she was like quite supportive of the bill and is willing to sponsor and co-sponsor the bill along with Representative Taylor and we also spoke with Representative Michelle Calder and also Senator John Bryant, and they all are in support to supporting this omnibus bill. Anything you want to put in, Eric?
Actually, you did a great job, so I can't think of anything right off, but all of these sponsors and co-sponsors is all in for this bill, so that is really great. I put in those. And then
Perfect.
yeah,
Thank you.
we're good.
Wonderful. Okay,
Thank you.
great. So I just want to go over our timeline again. January through March is for those of you who are new to our group. We did a bunch of brainstorming sessions for the first 3 months of the year. April through June, we had logistics calls. Again, these were headed up and facilitated by people in our community. Both self-advocates, parents, service providers have all come together to make this all float, which is very, very exciting for us. July and August, we did a lot of synthesizing and strategizing. We're starting to do some more refining of our spreadsheet now. Again, the spreadsheet is a totally available open source document that lives on Google and can be accessed, is pretty accessible by most people. For people who didn't find it accessible, I have offered and have done several phone calls to input directly over the phone with people myself to accommodate people who are unable to access the internet. September and October saw us asking legislative staff to be the prime and co-sponsors of the bill. Again, back in August, you directed us to go to the legislators and ask Senator Randall to prime sponsor a bill or package of bills in the Senate, and Representative Jamila Taylor to prime sponsor a bill or package of bills in the House. And you asked that the 2 lead Republicans be Senator John Braun and Representative Michelle Coldier. I'm so thrilled, as Eric said, to report that all 4 legislators have been willing to help in this way. And so that's really exciting. So upcoming, looking forward, getting the bills drafted at the direction of the co-sponsor or the sponsors and the co-sponsors. And then we're going to need to start getting co-sponsors on board. Co-sponsors it would be in this case, anybody who came after the prime sponsor or the first co-sponsor on the bill. So we want lots of co-sponsors. Again, advertising the bill at forums, weaving it into your respective legislative agendas. I know lots of groups are meeting right now to discuss what should be on their upcoming legislative agenda. And we invite you to weave this into your legislative agenda. Work groups need to start prioritizing their problems and solutions to be addressed this year. You can and should ask for big things. We need bill language, obviously, and we'll start working with legislative staff now to draft language. Drafts of those will be sent to everyone on the listserv and invited to give feedback on those drafts, okay? We'll need new work group co-facilitators for November, December, and January, so please consider volunteering. Legislative session starts in January, but a lot is happening now and needs to be done. We've, like I said, the North Star work into your legislative agendas, meet with legislators to discuss how lack of services impacts you. Ask me for a training on this if you or your organization needs help. Invite co-facilitators to talk to your organization or work group. As we start to develop our advocacy muscles here, it's really exciting because I'm seeing a lot of co-facilitators blossom in their knowledge and understanding of the process. And so I think that a lot of you are ready to flex that muscle in other ways. And so just be thinking of ways that you could plug in co-facilitators in your organization or work groups. Okay, we're a little bit ahead of schedule. Eric and Anthony, do you want to pause here to answer questions, or do you want to keep plugging away?
Sure, if anyone has any comments or question, please raise your hand and we will do our best ability to answer your questions. And you can use the chat box if you feel like putting a question there, or if you want to be verbal, raise your hand, and I see 2 hands, so Ross.
I
Go ahead.
unmuted. I'm unmuting Ross. So
Okay.
go ahead and hit the mute button, Ross.
Okay, so I think I'm gonna be ready to do the first season for October and November work group. I just really want to know about the day program because I never have an opportunity to be in the meeting, so I really want to know how far is the day program is going, and because I never have an opportunity to attend to that program throughout the year. So, can anyone give me an update on the day program? Thank you.
Adrian? You're on mute, Adrian.
Thanks. So you're gonna get work group updates here in a second, Ross. And day services, I think I saw both Sandy and Ivanova on the call. They're your co-facilitators for right now. But let's absolutely circle back and talk about, I think you said that you would be willing to co-facilitate the day services work group moving forward. Is that right? Did Ross? Okay. Ross, I think I heard you say that. And if you didn't, then that's okay too. But let's circle back, and I think that the co-facilitators are going to be able to answer your questions here shortly.
Moses?
Yes, thanks for taking my question. I just wanted to go back to, I wanted to ask you, Adrian, around the legislators that you approached. I really think that, like I put in the chat, it's amazing that you got those 4 legislators so quickly, you know, to get on board. I love the fact that we have 2 Republicans and 2 Democrats. I think that that's very well positioned, because as we heard, this particular work that we're all doing could definitely be one of the few bipartisan bills that both parties can agree to. And I think that's so exciting for politics in general, that this particular bill could help pave the way for both parties to be working together for common sense good. So I just want to congratulate you and the team and everyone that reached out to those legislators. With that said, because it's such a big thing for me, because I know how hard that is to get, I'm interested to hear maybe some comments that you heard from these legislators. Why did they decide to join? And was there any personal kind of stake that they had, personal passion? What was it that compelled all these 4 legislators to work with us? I don't know if you could give some comments surrounding that. Thank you.
Anthony or Eric, do you have anything?
Yeah, actually, Moses, one of the things is because, like, of all the little tiny bills that we got in this all together, it's like that's what's moving their passion of wanting to support this bill, because we have all these, like, and they see like how we have all these little bills in there. That's what's really, it's like we're getting like a lot of stuff in one package, and that's what they love, is they love to just move things along really fast. Like Senator Randall, she was like, this is really cool that you guys are pushing this forward. And that's why she was really supportive of having that bill. And I think she's a prime sponsor and stuff. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct.
Yep. All right. Before I call on the next person, those who have
Anthony, can I say one thing and just fill in
Yeah.
a few things too. Moses, great question. And, you know, a couple comments I heard from legislators were that they were excited that that there's so much organizing going on for the disability community. For so long, our community has been really fractured and hasn't come together to work together and create a unified vision and legislative agenda. So this is really, legislators like working with broad-based coalitions because they can make as many people happy as possible. Right. So the letter that we sent to them had over 20 organizations signed on. I really appreciate every organization that signed on to that letter. Thank you. And that's what I think was the main compelling thing for legislators. I will also say a few legislators, Senator Randall and Representative Taylor, do have some personal experience with family members with developmental disabilities. Senator Braun has been a huge champion for our issues in our community for a long time. And Representative Caldier has been supportive in the past as well. I think that's why this group chose those legislators too. Remember, you came up with about 18 criteria in the summer to say, how should we be filtering or deciding who should be who we should approach to ask to sign on to these bills. And so I think that combination of, you know, being a broad-based coalition and also just having that good fit for our community worked hand in hand. It was a nice coming together, melting of the mind. So that's my best answer, and we can go on to another question.
Thank you.
Yeah, I was gonna say
Go ahead.
before that, it's kind of been like 10 minutes. So anyone with like any devices, if you want to say anything or you need time, it's a 10-minute mark.
Also, while waiting to hear from them, Anthony, I noticed in the chat box from Moses, he said, thanks, Anthony and Adrian, for addressing my question and sharing the comment regarding our legislators. So exciting.
Okay. Well, while we wait on anyone who's typing a question, I'm gonna move to Robert Wardell. Go ahead and unmute yourself, Robert.
My question is, have you tried, I know that you got the co-sponsors, but have you tried to, my representative, Kelly Chambers, and the three that in the 25th for next time?
Actually, what we got was the prime sponsors. Next step is the co-sponsors, I believe. Right,
That's
Adrian?
right. Yeah, that's
Yes.
right, Anthony. So we haven't spoken to your we haven't spoken to any legislators that you didn't see on the slide a couple slides ago. So it's the 2 prime sponsors and the 2 lead co-sponsors, or 2 Republicans. So we'll be making our way through the rest of the legislators, and Robert will make sure that you're in any of those 25th LD meetings, okay?
Because reason why is, how do we get Kelly Chambers to agree on the stuff you guys want? I don't want to just say, yeah, we got a bill for you, but I don't want her to, she's gonna ask, what's this bill gonna do? And when she votes on it, she's gonna ask questions. That's why I was trying to ask carefully.
Yeah, well, we've got some time. The bill hasn't even been drafted yet. Again, we had to get prime sponsors. We had to get sponsors for the bill to direct legislative staff to help write the bill, right? Because right now we've just got ideas in a Google spreadsheet, and we need legislative staffers to go through that spreadsheet and pull out what we want them to pull out to put into a bill.
Okay.
So
I'm
we don't
just-
have a, yeah.
I know, when I go to like a legislative forum, they're gonna ask questions like, what's this bill gonna do? I was trying to be careful.
That's
Mm.
totally fair. And Robert, you and everyone else will be prepared before I ask you to talk about it at a legislative forum.
Okay, thank
So
you.
you're
Okay.
welcome.
Okay,
Sorry to interrupt just for a moment, Anthony. I noticed in the chat box, someone.
That's what I was gonna bring up is
Oh,
Sydney
go
had
right
her
ahead.
hand up. Sydney had her
Okay.
hand up. Do you want to say that or do you want us to read it?
Yeah, I can just go ahead and ask it already. My question is that how do we connect with our state legislators who are champions for peoples with disabilities?
Great question, Sydney. And so we can address that at the Q&A at the end. But just my short answer too is that if you or your organization want a specific training on connecting with legislators, I'm super happy to come and give you that training, A. And B, we can also schedule a phone call and I can walk you through how to do that individually if it's not for your organization. Okay.
Alrighty.
Okay. Okay. And did we hear from Julie, Eric, and Ann?
I haven't
Um,
seen anything.
Okay, do you have anything to say, Julie? Okay, hold on, where is she? Let's see. Trying to find her.
I just asked her to unmute, so it may take her a second.
Right. Okay. Thank you, Adrian.
Okay. Okay,
Okay. Thank you.
you wanna bring your slides back up, please?
I do, yeah. Can you see those now?
Yes.
Great.
Yep.
Okay, very good. All right. Do you want to call up the work group, folks?
Yes.
Sure.
Anthony, do you want to do this slide or do you want me to?
You go ahead, Eric.
Okay, so we're gonna do ask work group updates, and I'm pretty sure you know who the co-facilitators are for each one. So at least one of them can give us an update on the housing work group.
We got Kathy or Mike Raymond on the line. And while they're coming, I'm gonna see if I can find their one pager that they did to be really handy.
Is
Did
it
everybody?
Kathy Murahashi?
It is Kathy Murahashi, yeah.
Okay, I see her. I'm unmuting her.
And Mike Raymond and Amy
Um,
Champion, if she's on.
All right.
Sorry about that. And do you want to do you have our one pager that we could put up?
I'm bringing it up now.
Thank you. Thank
Go
you
ahead
so
and
much.
unmute yourself, Mike.
You ready? Okay, so whittling our things down to priority, well, to some buckets, which was challenging, but I think we have a good place to start. Mike, are you in on that? Or you have to
He hasn't
unmute him too?
unmuted. He
Okay.
hasn't unmuted himself yet.
Okay, that's fine. So just a little summary, you know, our
No,
goal. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay, I would like to have somebody find out for me that who is my legislators. Anybody know that?
Yeah, Mike, we can do that at the end, okay? I'll totally plug your address in and we'll figure out who your legislators are. And I promise
And-
before you get off this call, you'll know.
Yeah, anyhow, too. And I would like to, I hope we can shut them down. Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. So we as a group, we decided that our goal kind of have a statement that every person in Washington with IDD will have accessible and affordable housing options and residential supports appropriate to their needs and stage of life to live safely and meaningfully in their community. And just a little bit about, you know, the challenges around housing. We have a statement there. Individuals with IDD are often living with very low income. There's not enough affordable housing to meet the needs. There are regulatory challenges in developing housing, and our system really only provides 2 housing support models, adult family homes and supported living. These models are underfunded and do not adequately meet the varied needs of the IDD community. And individuals and families are left to figure things out without navigation or support, making it difficult to plan for the future. So we put our thoughts around the things that we need, and kind of as a general statement, we really need significant investments, regulatory simplification, and strategic planning for housing development, and housing supports to provide adequate housing options and appropriate supports that meet the varied needs of the IDD community. So the things that we need to thrive fall into 3 buckets. The first is we need adequate physical housing options that is community-based, and then we need to close the institutions. Integrated and inclusive, stable and safe, affordable and accessible. We need appropriate supports that meet a wide variety of needs. So this is our next bucket, that we need the supports to go with that. Supports that are person-centered and appropriate, self-determined, offers freedom of choice, has flexibility, is timely and responsive, is parity with people with IDD, offers appropriate backup support when needed, is adequately funding to ensure the continuity of care and stabilizes the workforce and improves the quality of care, ensures that nobody is rejected from their home or is at risk for going into a hospital or institution because of lack of supports, ensures accountability of providers, including exit interviews. And the last bucket is strategic planning with positive measurable outcomes. We need information assessment on current and projected unmet needs for both physical housing and community supports. And we need planning for the future, you know, implement the recommendations from the housing study and commit to caseload forecasting for all people who need services. So that's where we are at this point of time.
Thank you. Thank you for that.
Thank
Kathy. That's
you
great.
very much.
Thanks, Mike.
All right. All right. Next up, the next work group is the caregiving work group, and whoever is facilitating that one, do you want to give us an update, please, on the caregiving?
Okay.
Can you hear me now?
Yes,
Yeah. Thank you. Okay.
you're welcome.
Green, is there any chance I could get you to pull up that, pull up our bucketing list?
Want to pull that up, Adrian, please?
Or else Julie and I can just speak off the cuff, which is
Give me, yeah, you start. I'm trying to pull it up.
Okay.
I'm having technical difficulties, but I'm bringing it. Okay.
fine. No worries.
And,
Thank you.
and Anthony, people are saying that they can't unmute. Is there something, or I don't know what to do about that, but you fix that and I'll bring up the document, okay?
Yeah.
Excuse me, just 1 second. Okay.
So my name is Amel Grabinski, and I was one of the co-chairs for the caregiving work group. Julie Clark is my other capable co-facilitator of the group. And we finished our bucketing exercise earlier this week, and without seeing it in front of me, what really our emphasis was creating livable, sustainable wages and insurance for staff, whether they work in agencies or whether they work as individual providers. That was sort of priority number one, along with regular increases to cover cost of life, cost of living increases. Oh, thank you, Julie. Or Adrian, sorry, you pulled it up. Whoever pulled it up, thank you, one of you, for doing that. It wasn't me. So wages should be increased regularly with other cost of living or minimum wage increases, making sure that rural and metropolitan wages are both paid the same. Agencies should only send trained caregivers who understand family dynamics. Agencies should give families the option to work with a caregiver that they're familiar with. That's just under the agency set of bullets. Under individual caregiving, same thing about livable wage and insurance. That one also includes pay differential for people with intense medical and or behavioral support needs. A big ask there was flexibility in the number of hours that people can use to cover emergencies that are obviously unexpected, and compensation for training and orientation of new caregivers. So to build an overlap so that people can train one another. And then we had a big section on family and respite caregivers. The big asks there were people needing safety and support and personal care both. So that was on the adult side. For those under 18, that medical supervision was a really important ask. So there's some detail in there that I really liked. The group seemed to land on really well, emphasizing that safety and support is not a tool to restrict the rights of the individual, and the individual always has autonomy and decision-making authority over their life. We talked about increasing respite, both reimbursement rates and availability. We talked about creating a pathway for family caregivers to get paid to support their own children under 18, the way that can happen for people over 18, and that parity in compensation is critical, regardless of how old that child is. And finally, children under 18 deserve to have childcare that suits their needs, regardless of their disability. So ideas there were a no reject policy for daycares and care centers, and the associated training and skill set and pay to providers to address the gap in the system. Those were the big ones that we landed on. We ended up talking a lot about training also. I'm sure other people in their groups landed on that too. This is going to look like it's a ton of stuff. So this can obviously be compressed. We tried to lay out all the bullets though that we were thinking of. So everything from clarity in what kind of training people have to addressing the unnecessary barriers, making sure that training is accessible, that it's available, that it really speaks to disability culture, rooted in the idea that individuals with disabilities have autonomy over their bodies and over their lives, and that justice is a really critical thing for us to be thinking about, making sure that disability advocates get to participate in deciding what the training curricula is. Some changes needed to refreshing the curricula, making it more relevant for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities, making sure that trainers have actual experience in working with people with mental health and developmental disabilities, so that it's not just somebody who knows how to teach, but somebody who actually has experience in this work. And then there was an ask, which is going to sound like it's a little off to the side, but It was a really good point. Training for IDD should also extend to
Sorry to interrupt you for a moment, but you could keep going, but I need to slip away for the afternoon and my team, Anthony and Adrian, will take over from here. So thank you everyone for doing this. So thank you and have a wonderful day.
Thank you,
And
Eric.
next time I will be on for the full time. I do promise you that. Have a wonderful day.
Thanks, Eric.
You're quite welcome. Go ahead.
That was right at the end of what we were saying. Training should extend to nurses who are working with the 18 and under population or 18 and over in agencies to make sure that they're receiving the same kind of core training that all other employees in this field are receiving. So that was our work product. Julie, is there more to add to that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's what we got. That's our update.
Thank you so much, Amal and Julie. I really appreciate you. Okay.
Okay.
It looks like you've got a raised hand, Anthony, and I'm going to pull up the next work group, which is transportation. Transportation folks ready to.
I go ahead and unmute yourself, Kelly.
Okay, thank you. I have a question regarding the training for the nurses with I'm with a disability specific curriculum. Is that what you're referring to when you're talking about that?
So yeah, that there was a nurse on the call that asked that any curriculum that was available to caregivers be also available for nurses who were caring for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities.
Okay, so you're talking about the nurses that are going in and doing the nurse delegation and that kind of stuff.
Right.
Okay. And so will there, okay, never mind. I have to form some questions around that and I'll just probably submit them to you, Adrian, or the caregiving group, maybe on the spreadsheet. Thank you.
Okay, no problem. Okay, sorry. I just am
Pelter.
that's
Anthony.
Fancy.
Hi there.
Oh, sorry.
Hello.
I'm sorry. I'm having real trouble bringing up the transportation documents. I'm very frustrated. Bear
No
with me
problem.
for just a second. Okay.
There we go.
All
Okay.
right.
So the folks that worked on this with myself would be Soretti Jaro, who's out of the Spokane, Washington ARC, as well as Emily Rogers. And I thank both of them for their efforts with me. We broke our buckets down into the things that you see outlined here, barriers to service. I guess since everyone's reading, I will read.
You don't have to. You don't have to.
I
Fancy.
kind of feel like we all have copies of them.
Yeah.
And
well,
you know, maybe I'll just tell you how we approached it from a high level, because we, like everybody, there's just so much that we unpacked, but there's just no way that it can all become part of a bill. Some of them are certainly pertinent issues. Some of them are not, things that can be solved legislatively. So I took a real high level, and that was apparent when I got the final copy, that there must have been a lot of feedback on things that folks thought we missed, because there was an entire section added to our bucket list, which was the accountability. So maybe I'll just focus on that one. You know, things like surveys should be sent at the end of each ride to rate consumer satisfaction, and text messages alerting people, caregivers and guardians and parents, when and where the person riding the transportation is at each point. Accountability when the transportation company has poor service. The fact that the bus driver's time is respected, but many felt that the individuals with IDD, that their time was not respected. And I think that would be associated very specifically with either not being picked up or having to wait an extensive amount of time beyond what would have been reasonable. Followed up by no backup plan if drivers don't show up. Things about drivers violating policies and procedures that shouldn't be rehired to transport vulnerable people. Charging for miles if they didn't pick the person up in a timely way. And I really like the last one, creating a transportation bill of rights for people with intellectual and developmental disabilities. Again, I am speaking my own 2 cents here, in that the little nugget that I know about the transportation world and how it works in my association, both at the Pierce County level, as well as the Puget Sound Regional Council, I would say that a lot of these accountability things may not be things we can deal with legislatively, but may be things that we can bring up to specific service transportation organizations. But basically our buckets had to do with barriers to service, training issues, safety, costs, and alternatives to public transportation. Just in the interest of time, I'm going to not read each one, but I am certainly available and willing to talk to anyone about any of them, and invite you all to join our transportation group when we have our next meeting. Thanks.
Thank you,
Amy.
Francie. Thank you. You did a fabulous job. Both in trying to pull meetings together and in the final product. So thank you, thank you. Okay, the next up is Civil Rights Work Group. And I think Craig?
It would be Eric and Craig, but Craig is here and stuff. Okay. Craig. Go ahead and unmute, Craig.
Okay, so before I read off our list, because I know we have some folks that that helps. We did make a point this quarter to really slow down, and we had lots of help. We had Jeremy and Adrian, and you know, thank you guys, and David Lord too. So everyone covered an aspect. We made sure everything got covered, and are you going to pull up our? You did, thank you. So this is the buckets we came up with. And so we had tension between autonomy of persons with disabilities versus caregiver parent interference. People with disabilities should be treated as people first. People should be included meaningfully in all aspects of society. People with disabilities are often not allowed to take risks. You know, the dignity of risk theory. Some providers programs don't meet people's basic personal care needs, and find support who hear our voices, but not just hear it, truly listen. And so those were the problems that the folks saw. Schools, children should not be restrained and secluded in school. Age appropriate practices should be used. Sexuality is a human right, including people with disabilities. Inclusion should come first, not an afterthought. And the biggie that's kept coming out, end segregation. Forced poverty, you know, streamline the process of people applying for SSI and SSA, because, you know, as you know, that can take years and it's hard to survive during those years. Benefit planning is not accessible to everyone. Our system is ableist and jeopardizes people's ability to live in the community. Police brutality came up, and the school to prison pipeline and the equity of ethnic populations. Basically, there's a lot, you know, on the solutions, but we're saying that, you know, if a white person commits a crime and a black person commits the same crime, it seems the consequences are way more severe with ethnic populations, and that needs to be dealt with. Communities of color endure racism and do not receive the same services as white persons with disabilities. Excessive responses to minor situations by police. Voting rights, voter pamphlets are inaccessible and they're not written in plain language. Write the pamphlets in plain language, you know, so that when you vote yes, you're not actually voting no, you know, make it, simplify it. People with guardians can lose their right to vote. Forced segregation, you know, the least restrictive environment, community protection program is overused. RHCs are an entitlement, but community living is not. The marriage penalty should be eliminated. As a dependent of someone in the military, benefits should not be affected. People with more significant support needs need more support to be involved in the community life of their choosing. People, people with high level support needs are not an active part of self-advocacy community. They have no voice. Decisions are being made about programs that qualify without their input. Parents should have the right to see their children. Some parents with disabilities are not allowed to see their children. People with IDD should be able to adopt or become foster parents. Sometimes state agencies assume people with IDD are not capable of being parents to their children. People who should be able to, hold on, I'm sorry, guys. My brain doesn't work quite that good. So a parent should.
I'm sorry. People who want access.
Sometimes state agencies assume people are not capable of being parents to their children. People who want to access the community are sometimes not allowed to because of conflict over who will provide the personal care. We need a service system that respects our rights. People who need services but who have high IQs cannot receive services, eliminating IQ testing as a function of eligibility requirements. Students and their families experience language barriers, mandate funding for interpretation services. People with disabilities should be able to make their own decisions. Guardianship removes people's individual rights. All aspects of life can be significantly impacted by guardianship. Increase the use of supported decision-making. Sometimes people speak to the person's guardian instead of speaking directly to the person. Guardianships are overused and promoted by schools, providers, and state and federal agencies. Control over money. People should have control over their money with assistance if needed. Is that the last one, the abuse one? Oh, I was waiting for you to scroll. Abuse. People are abused in care facilities, RHCs, nursing homes, adult family homes, adult daycares, and other contents, as well as those who are aging. Continued Zoom access. The legislator is not accessible for people with disabilities because of the travel to attend a hearing or visit a legislator. Transportation is a barrier because most people do not have access to a van that can transport them to Olympia, especially difficult for people who use wheelchairs. And we did not eliminate anything off the database. All of the solutions are all still there and you can access that database. And again, thank you, Adrian and Jeremy, for helping us slow down and be efficient. And Eric, but Eric didn't know I thanked him. And that's pretty much it. Any questions there?
Raise your hand if you have a question so we can unmute you.
Wonderful. Healthcare. And
All right.
have we checked in with Julie recently?
Julie, do you have any further questions? Or
You got to ask her to unmute.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. So she has nothing to make a comment on, Adrian.
Okay. So healthcare.
Okay, who are our healthcare facilitators? Adrian?
Yeah, sorry. Was it Doreen Vandervoort, Kelly Nesbitt? Oh, no. This time around, it was Priya and Robert Wardell did healthcare.
Okay, Priya,
Jayadev?
okay. I got Priya, all right, I'm unmuting Priya and then,
Robert Wardell.
okay, Robert. I'm unmuting you, Robert, go ahead.
Right.
This is
Robert?
Robert M. Wardell. I helped out with Maria with the healthcare solutions, and I have to say she's a very, very nice person to work with. And then we went through everything and fixed up what we had to fix everything that all the mess. Thank you.
Thanks, Robert. So as Robert mentioned, we took up the second from Doreen and Kelly from the healthcare work group, and they had created a tremendous list of information and points prior to us co-facilitating. And from that, we narrowed down everything into 4 buckets: training, insurance, barriers, and gaps. And under those categories, we've got what you see in front of you. So in the last Friday, we went through and we completed the buckets and the subpoints within the buckets. And they came out to a need for implementing new training models for providers who provide healthcare to individuals with IDD. And there were a number of models that were identified prior to Robert and I co-facilitating, and those models are all in the Excel worksheet, and they're going to be proposed as ideas that could be pursued in terms of training models for healthcare providers. There was a need to increase capacity and incentives to work with individuals with IDD. There was a need to require provider training on comorbidities, such as IDD plus mental health, IDD plus chemical dependency. So when there's more than just IDD that needs to be managed in healthcare provision, we need providers that have understanding of comorbidities. We need more curriculum and fellowships, medical residencies that are specifically for programs for treating adults with IDD. We need a recruitment process. We need pediatricians that have training to help parents understand the complete picture of what it is to provide care for a child with IDD, and providers need to be trained to use telehealth. That was a large issue, not just telehealth, but also telemedicine. So the non-clinical and the clinical provision of care. Then we also had the bucket of insurance coverage, and one of the overarching themes in insurance coverage is, at least for children, implementation of TEFRA, which is the Tax Equity Fiscal Responsibility Act. I can't really remember. It's in the spreadsheet. The idea being that if you qualify for DD services and you're between the years of 0 and 18, you would automatically qualify for Apple Health coverage. Need for Medicaid rates to increase, because having providers that are incentivized to provide care is partly a rate issue. Ensuring that therapies are covered, and not just therapies like ABA, but also things like music therapy, OT, physical therapy, speech, all of the therapies that are needed by an individual with IDD. We need to increase the amount of money a person can make without losing Medicaid coverage. So those were the points under insurance coverage. And then in barriers to access, need to require that all information is provided in accessible formats, whether that means in plain language or in a different language. Whatever format is needed by the individual, those formats need to be available for use. Continuing on with barriers, we need incentives for trained providers. Again, that whole thing of incentivizing providers, not just in terms of care of the person with IDD, but especially within the rural communities. Medicaid rates needs to be increased for areas, topics, specifically mental health, behavior support, and necessary therapies. We need navigators that can facilitate access and understanding of available healthcare options. And I see Robert's hand is up, so I'll let Robert speak, sorry.
At first, I was afraid that we was cleaning up the healthcare system. I thought, I like the idea, but I want to make sure that if we're gonna do something like next year and beyond, let's try to make sure we get feedback from everybody. Thank you.
Yep, this was a point, Robert, you're right, that we had a lot of discussion about, that all of the viewpoints with regards to healthcare changes that are needed get incorporated into this document. And for those that didn't get incorporated, that we would commit to having those included in future documents as well. Yes, thanks, Robert.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah. We also had an ask of medical spaces and equipment needing to be universally designed. So those were all the subpoints within the barriers component. And then in the gaps in service, we had need for mental health care coverage that came up repeatedly within the discussions. Specialized services, whether it's diabetes care, dental, vision, but specialized care for people with IDD. Incentives incentives keep popping up, right? It's a mechanism by which to get individuals, providers to actually provide service that is quality service in terms of healthcare service for our community. And those, whether it's incentive to provide just care for IDD for the rural community or for specialized therapies, and continuing telehealth, telemedicine options. And then finally, mental health service needs to be considered a basic healthcare coverage. And that's everything. And I see Aruna's hand is up.
Right, go ahead and unmute, Aruna.
Thank you very much for great, synopsis of all the hard work you have done. One point I would like to bring up is maintaining healthy lifestyles so that we don't have the chronic health condition would be really, really important. Coverage for maintaining health style, like membership to the YMCA or whatever the services could be, just so that the quality of life is better. And diet and nutrition, exercise, diet and nutrition, if we can have some coverage for that. Thank you.
That's a really good point, Aruna. It's not just about crisis care, but preventative care, so that we have quality of life being important, and that probably should be incorporated. Thank you.
Tracy has her hand up. Go ahead and unmute. Oh, she remuted.
Yeah, to let you know that if you have United Healthcare, they do have a YMCA that you can get a membership. I have a membership with United Healthcare, so you have to call your health insurance and ask them, or they have scholarships if you're low income to get YMCA membership, just to let you guys know.
Thanks, Tracy.
All right. Okay. Oh. You got something else, Aruna?
Yes, I do. United Healthcare may be paying for people who are 65 plus who are on Medicare. It may not be for people under 65. So I just wanted to bring up that point.
Okay. All right.
Okay, looks like day services is next, Anthony.
All right. Oh, Sandy had her hand up, but I think she put it. Yep, there she is. Last question.
Actually, I had my hand
All
up for day services because Ivanova and I were our co-facilitators. So
Okay.
I think it's time though anyway.
You want to go ahead and unmute Ivanova?
Hi, I'm Ivanova Smith.
Hi, Ivanova.
So the main
we're just getting to the day services buckets, and I wanted to make sure that I asked you if there was a part of it that you wanted to share, or if you wanted me to go ahead and go through the whole thing, because I know we didn't talk about this before.
Oh, she there.
She unmute?
There we go.
There.
Sorry about that. I muted myself again accidentally. So we focused on transition from high school to community. We adult employment services and then other day services. So the first one, use person-centered, culturally and logistically appropriate planning as a driver for all transition programs across the state. Person-centered planning must be conducted in a partnership with and having support of the person with a disability. Nothing about a person with a disability happens without the person with a disability's involvement, involvement and support. Continue the work of the Transition Collaborative to develop and foster consistent transition and school to work programs across the state. Students with developmental disabilities should not have to wait until graduation to participate in paid and supported employment. Support should be provided at whatever age a student with a disability chooses to enter the workforce. It is critical for the students with developmental disabilities to have the opportunity to graduate into paid employment.
No.
Employment services, all provider rates need to be increased and made equitable between services. Nothing about what a person with a disability happens without the person's disabilities, empowerment, and supports. Allow for community inclusion and individualized employment to be utilized by both the individual at the same time. People with high personal care and support needs disproportionately experience and underemployment. DDA should support people with necessary personal care in their place of employment, appropriate to the number of hours the individual chooses. Many people who need these supports do not receive it because they do not qualify for DDA. Services should be available without becoming burdensome DDA qualifications. And I would also add that there's also issues around like transportation and helping a person get to the job if there is no public transit or they can't access public transit.
Thanks, Ivanova. Do you want Sandy to do the next part? The non-employment services?
Okay, yes.
Yes.
She said yes.
Okay.
All right, so we, like Ivanova said, we focused on kind of 3 areas. And again, for day services, that includes employment. So we're not just talking about day programming or community inclusion, community engagement, we're talking about employment as well. But we all know that employment is only part of a person's full life. So we wanted to focus on those services that were not related directly to employment as well. So people living in rural areas and in adult family homes experience especially diminished opportunities to participate in their communities. Some of these issues can be addressed with more flexibility in waiver spending and the introduction of new waiver services. Due to inadequate staffing, many adults with IDD are stuck at home without the supports they need to access their community. Nothing about the person with a disability happens without the person with a disability's involvement and support. There is no one-size-fits-all approach to day services that works for everyone. People need robust, meaningful day services and adequate employment supports. People's services should not be diminished based on where they live. If a person lives in an adult family home, they should still receive meaningful day services and activities of their choosing in their community. And there was some feedback that came back on this point to say, not just adult family homes, but the family home, other places of residence as well. People with developmental and intellectual disabilities may need safety support. DDA currently calls this supervision, but we understand that there's a need to change that nomenclature to live safely in their family homes or personal residences and to access their community. Personal care hours, or CFC, paid by Medicaid, should include safety support tasks as part of an individual's care plan and should be built into all services without restricting the individual's right to autonomy or their own ability to make their own decisions and direct their own care. Many people who need these supports, and I'm assuming we're talking about various day services supports, people who need these supports do not receive them because they do not qualify for DDA services. Services should be available for people who need them without burdensome eligibility requirements. And just to add to this, we did get feedback on this, and Adrian worked really hard to incorporate that feedback. I know, Ross, you had some questions about day services because you hadn't been able to participate yet. Is there anything that we can address for you?
Oh, I think it is okay. I think we want to know if there any like DVR program support, or are you gonna try to get people that are on the DVR to be able to run the day service? Because I know that a lot of the people that are on DVR, they don't get to be on the day service program. So if there is any way that we can ask money to pay for it in the DVR service.
Right. I don't know that we look directly at DVR because they're pretty narrow in what they can provide right now and who they can provide it to, but that's definitely something to look into. We are trying to explore in this group some ideas about how can we do day services without and supported employment without having to be on a DDA waiver. So I appreciate that feedback. Ivanova or Adrian, would you add anything to that?
Hold on. Where is Ivanova? All right.
This looks like all accurate here. Looks like you got all of it.
Yeah, Ross, let's look back at the end. Okay, there's going to be 30 minutes for question and answer. I think we've talked about your the DVR issue before, and let's noodle on it. Let's continue to noodle on it.
Okay.
Kelly has her hand up.
Yeah.
That's because I'm part of the next group.
Great.
Oh, okay.
Okay. And you're going to want to unmute Emily Fung as well, Anthony.
Okay, that's what I'm looking up right now.
Okay, I'll go ahead and start. So Emily and I worked on the systems accessibility group together. Fortunately for me, she's very tech savvy, and I did it the old school way, sat down with a piece of paper and pen and wrote out everything that stood out to me that the prior group had worked on. and she did it on the computer, and we pretty much came up with most of the same things. So we had a couple of bucket list meetings to talk about those, and this is a document that we came up with, and I think that Emily would be better to go ahead and explain it. So I'm gonna go ahead and hand it over to her now. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Kelly. And Anthony, you let me know how we're doing on time. Do you want me to go through every line, or should I try to get through more of an overview of what we talked about?
So far, I think we're doing good on time, aren't we, Adrian?
Not really, but that's okay. We need to go through systems accessibility. This is our last bucket because schools hadn't gotten the chance to meet. So yeah, let's just get through it, and then we need to do community check-ins.
Sure. All right.
Anthony.
Well, after this, we can ask Julie if she has anything.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so I'll just go through this as quickly and carefully as I can, and you guys let me know if there's something that you'd like a little more clarity on. So I will start by reading this really wonderful blurb that Adrian added to the top of our systems accessibility work group buckets. This kind of just gives an overview of what the goals were that we had in mind when we were creating these buckets. So it says, our service delivery system is inaccessible, especially for people who do not read or speak English. Even for people who are fluent in English, too much jargon, too many acronyms, and medical terminology are used, creating barriers to help people understand options or available resources. So really the goal of this entire group is to simplify things in a way that people can understand their options and available resources. So the first bucket that we came up with was eligibility. So we talked about how we need an accessible outline of who qualifies for what services using maybe a checklist system. And then we also need this kind of information to be distributed in alternate delivery methods, including visual and video formats and multiple languages. I'm not going to go through and read every single one, but another really big issue that was talked about when we were talking about eligibility was removing all IQ requirements. This is something that our community is really calling for, and IQ requirements just serve to further segregate the disability community. So we'd really like to see those removed. And then another particularly important point from this discussion is E, which is that we need to shift from the current system, which is needs-based versus, we need to shift to needs-based from the current eligibility-based. So essentially what that means is for all of these systems, we would really like to see people getting the services that they need, not just what they qualify for. All right, so number 2, the second bucket that we came up with was clarity and availability of information. So this really centers on the fact that a lot of the documents that are out there about how to enter systems and what people are eligible for, waivers and that kind of thing, they are really not written in a way that is readily accessible for the average person to understand, let alone somebody who may have trouble, reading or writing in English. So documents, especially waivers, need to be written in plain language and again, distributed using alternative delivery methods, including visual and video formats. And then another really important thing that we discussed during this time was that information and services need to be provided so that diverse cultures and languages can participate in that process and understand what they're being told as well. And then C is just a really great way to sum up a lot of what was talked about, which is that we just want a reduction overall of paperwork and administrative barriers. Somebody suggested MediCard as kind of a solution for that. So that's just there as an example. And then E, investing in virtual and online resources to help people understand what their options are, even in these increasingly online and increasingly pandemic impacted times. So I'll go on to number 3 here. This is a huge one, simplification of system navigation. And this is a good time to mention as well that while we do have 5 separate buckets, a lot of our buckets overlap with one another because you can't have accessibility of information without simplification of system navigation and so on and so forth. So we had a lot of items in these buckets that really could have gone in a lot of different categories. So we've just organized it in the best way that we found in our group discussions. So under number A, or letter A, I should say, this was a big one that was discussed a lot in our group. We'd like to see integrating DDA into a single point of entry. There was mention of Washington Connection, which is used for a lot of other services. So we'd like to see DDA being integrated into something like that. And there needs to be widespread regional in-person access options so that people can really understand how to enter the system and where they can find their services. Again, there's a lot of talk about simplifying information offered with checklists and one-pagers and distributing that kind of information, once again, using alternative delivery methods, including visual and video formats. There's a lot of talk about establishing more personnel and training other community professionals to help people understand systems and get the paperwork that they need to be filled out in an accurate and timely manner. And another big thing here is letter E, which is make jargon-filled language requirements less stringent for requests for service. So essentially what this is asking for, this came from Darcy, who's on the call right now. This is basically asking that people get the services they need, whether or not they're hitting the right buzzword that they need to say in order to receive those kinds of service outlines from providers. And then we have F, encourage intersystem and interstate communication and referrals, cross-training. So this is just our way of indicating that we'd really like to see communication between systems and between state systems so that that kind of burden is not placed on the individual. All right, and we can go down to number 4 now. Number 4 is a short category, but a very important one. So this is community involvement and co-design. So A, address inherent ableism present in systems as they exist today. We know that the systems as they're designed have inherent ableism. So we'd really like to see that change. And the way that we see that changing is through higher community involvement and co-design opportunities. So B says offer opportunities for community review and more positions for people with disabilities to provide oversight to the service system. And C says prioritize jobs for people with disabilities to offer civic engagement opportunities. So we would really like to see employment opportunities and other day services offer a means for people with disabilities to get involved and informed about the, civil and political process. All right, and then the last bucket here is accountability and oversight. I think there's a large agreement in the systems accessibility work group that there's not a lot of accountability at the moment, and providers are pretty much just allowed to do what they want to do without a very large system of review. So that's kind of what this bucket is trying to address. So I'll just read a few of them. I'm not going to go through everyone just in the interest of time because I know we only have 8 more minutes here. But a big one is letter A here, mandate quality control checks and require public reports on how well agencies are meeting basic needs. So that would be things like food, housing, and healthcare. And then publicize these reports on services rendered with regard to things like timeliness and client satisfaction, tie client satisfaction measures to individual providers in a publicly accessible database. This is really just a long-winded way to say that we would like to see something like Angie's List or Yelp for service providers, where people can review and view other people's opinions on service provided and the different factors that make a quality provider. So we have a similar kind of feeling or sentiment here in B as well, which is just to say that there should be a method to monitor data on abuse and allegation rates. And that's a little bit more serious, but it just goes along with letter A there to say that there's no current way to monitor these quality control checks. And let's just see here. We have a couple of really specific things here, but D is a good catch-all to kind of explain what we want to accomplish with this accountability and oversight bucket. Just we want to establish methods to identify good versus poor provider practices and require independent providers to undergo anonymous client evaluation. It was discussed in our group that a lot of these evaluations take place from clients when they're in the same room as the provider. So they really don't feel that they're able to provide the kind of feedback that they'd like to. And that pretty much sums up the work that we did in systems accessibility. And I'd be willing to take any questions that people have now.
If you have questions, raise your hand, please, so I can unmute you.
All right, looks like no questions for me.
Nope. Nope. Okay. All right. So, okay, do you have any questions or anything you need to say, Julie? Or anyone with the with? Okay. All right. So what's next on our agenda, Adrian?
Well, I just want to pause and take a moment to give a ton of gratitude to the people who have co-facilitated and put all of that work into creating the buckets and working the spreadsheets. It was a lot of work. It was a lot of work. There's so much to be proud of just right here and getting our community to come together and get on the same page. I appreciate that there's not 100% agreement in everything that was written down. And if there was, this would have been done a long time ago. So I just have a lot of gratitude for the tremendous amount of work that's been done thus far. So thank
We
you,
got
everyone.
2 people, Robert and Kyle. Robert, go ahead.
I like your presentation. I think if we would have done this a long time ago, we would have had everything met. Thank you.
All right. Go ahead, Kyle.
Okay, I mean, all the sentiments with everybody else. This was great. I mean, it's good to hear a recap of all the different groups and stuff like that. I know starting next month or next time around, I am one of the volunteers that's doing the healthcare group, but I'm also like to put my name in for the overall because I only did it for 1 month because of the fact that when Krista stepped away from that part, for about a month, the last month, I think I should be able to serve the next 3 months beyond that. So that's it. Thank you. And it's been great.
All right. Any more comments or anything? Going once, going twice. Agenda.
Okay, well,
Alright.
just Anthony and Eric wanted to do quick check-ins with groups in our community to ask how things are going for you and what could be done better. And so I just want to give space to have that conversation, and then Anthony and I will stay on at the end.
All right. Well, so it's easier. I just operated the feature for everyone to unmute themselves so we can go through the community list. So community check-ins on how you're feeling, what could be better. First up is like people with IDD, self-advocates. Anyone?
I can tell you, this is Kyle. I'll go ahead before I am. Just everything was good for everything, especially with people IDD. It could be more into plain language and take the time so that people if they're like slow learners or whatever can catch on.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I think everything's going pretty good.
There is right. I think that we should have some picture language because I think that we will stick to one area of visual, but I think we have some people that are picture visual, so I think we need to be able to accommodate other people that do not read and write, do not read but can know how to do pic, pic, picture, so that way we can do it. Because I know that in more languages in more identity community they do more the written language and then the picture language. So if we could do that next time.
Yeah. All right. Looks like Cindy has her hand up.
Yes, well, I'm feeling, first of all, I'm happy that I was able to get appointed to serve on the Washington DD Council because this was a long time waiting for this for almost 3 months. But now I'm also feeling sad because I still don't have a job, and I've been here in Spokane for 5 months now. I mean, 4 months, 4 months.
Yeah. Well, Cindy, welcome aboard to the DD Council. Looking forward to working with you on there. Okay, any other self-advocates, DD community? Anyone? Going once, going twice. Oh, Tracy.
Yeah, it was good, but there were some technical difficulties trying to put your opinion when, sometimes Zoom has a mind of its own, but I think it was good and all, and that I'm glad that the self-advocates could come in and say what we had to, because I think we need to be heard. And thank you, Anthony and Eric, for helping us.
Okay, Robert.
When I first got started with the healthcare system, I think I can learn a little bit more so that next time I'm willing to do it again. It's next time I'm willing to listen and do what I can for healthcare. Thank you.
All right. Krista.
Hey, it's interesting as the process is going along. One of our main things with People First of Washington is see institutions closed, and the legislative agenda is focused on housing this year. And so it would have been nice to see that more clearly laid out, that institution closure doesn't just happen by increasing community supports, but it happens by getting people out of institutions and then shutting them down. And to do that, we need housing models, but we also we need housing and individualized person-centered structures and housing, not just models, because models don't work for everybody. They're not person-centered.
All right, anybody else? Going once, going twice. Okay. People of color, BIPOC community. Who have comments or how you feel? Okay. Doesn't sound like we got anyone. Going once, going twice. All right, parents. Any parents? All right, Sandy.
Hi, thank you. I just wanted to say that it's so nice to see all these different groups working together and listening to each other and being able to compromise and join forces on a lot of these things. The thing as a parent that I want to make sure that we keep in mind is that people with intellectual and developmental disabilities have a very large spectrum of need, from someone with very high needs who has been isolated from being in the community, unable to work, unable to do a lot of things that they would like to do, all the way up to someone who has more opportunities to live the life that they want to live. I just want to make sure that as we go through this process as a parent, that we are looking at that full spectrum. And I believe in the philosophy of universal design, not just being assigned to buildings, but being assigned to systems. So if we create a system that helps the person who is most in need, it's going to help everyone. So from a parent and family perspective, I just thank you, for working together. And also let's keep in mind that we have a varied needs in our community, and we need to make sure that we are designing a system that meets the most need. Thank you.
Thank you. Diane.
Yes, I want to say that one of the things that's caused me concern over the last few years was seeing kind of a adversarial relationship between parents and self-advocates. And watching the progression of the North Star Project, I think in a lot of ways that has helped show that parents and self-advocates do often have the same concerns. And I think it may be helping to bridge that gap between them a little bit. There's always going to be some conflict just because of perspectives. But I think the North Star Project has helped both sides see that they have a lot of the same goals. It's just figuring out how to deal with them.
Yeah, thank you, Diane. Margaret.
Hi, this is Margaret Lee Thompson. I just wanted to kind of pat everybody on the back. Our son was born about 55 years ago. He passed away 15 years ago. And so, I'm an older mom, but when he was born, he's our first child. And when he was born, you need to know that I had never known a person with Down syndrome. And I did not come from a small place. They were completely hidden. They were mostly put in institutions, or some parents kept them at home and never let them outside. And look at where we've come. Look at what you're involved in today and the decisions we're making to make people's lives even more kind of, what would you call, ordinary, as an ordinary citizen. And I appreciate so much the schools that Dan had. We lived in 4 states, that we came here when he was in high school at Lake Washington High School, and he graduated with a job. Can you imagine? I mean, it was just wonderful. And he worked at Microsoft for 15 years. I just want you to know that I am so grateful to be able to see the progress that's happened. And a lot of people that are here on this call have been really key people in that process. And I am so grateful to know all of you, and I'm grateful that I could still be involved. And I talk too much. Goodbye.
Thank you. Kelly?
Yeah, I pretty much wanted to echo what Margaret Lee said as far as the ability to get to know. I think Francine put it in the chat as well, new people, and realize that there are a lot of things that parents and parents who co-advocate with and are communication partners with those with higher support needs. We do have a lot in common with the self-advocates, and we appreciate the opportunity to be involved. And I also appreciate what Adrian said about acknowledging that there's not 100% agreement here on everything.
And, you know, I don't know that there's ever going to be that point. But, you know, I think we also need to look at the people who are stuck in the hospitals and those who are in the community in crisis, and how much input have we gone out and gathered from them. And we need to do that somehow. So that's what I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, any other parents? Going once, going twice. All right, the LBGT community, Q community. Oh, okay, hold on. Kelly forgot to put her hand down. All right, Kristen.
Hey, I'm just checking in. My name's Kristen. I am a member of the LGBTQ plus community, and I just want to say thank you for doing such a good job of the invites for these meetings. You've made it very easy for me to show up when I can, and then suggestions would be, I do have a couple of people in mind who are members of the people of color community, and I have not been able to invite them myself to these meetings, and I need some help to do that. So if there's a member that would be willing to reach out to me and give me a little coaching, maybe I could bounce the idea off of them. I just need a little help. Send me you can send me a message on this, and that's it. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other members of the LGBTQ community?
I want to get more funding for the travel projects, because they really work on trying to make sure that people in the LGBTQ does not commit suicides and that. And it's a huge organization.
Yeah, and you know, I mean, I'll leave it as, I mean, as a member of it myself, I will also say it's like we need to really, you know, vocalize the rights for, you know, the same-sex marriage and respect everyone's rights to that. I mean, it's all about, you know, who your partner is, being committed. There's nothing wrong with that. All right. Anyone else? Going once, going twice. Next slide, please. All right. Questions and answers. And we kind of went a little over, but we still got time. Does anyone have any questions and comments for concerns?
Anthony, can I go over a few questions or comments that have already been raised? Okay, so with regard to inviting people, all you need to do is forward the invitation, the calendar invitation, to the people that you want to invite on their email, and that will encapsulate the Zoom link and shoot it right over. If you need help with that, though, let me know, but feel free to just send the calendar invitation, forward it on to somebody. I still have a few people that are having trouble accessing the calendar invitation, and I'm not sure what to do with that on my end of things, but I want to iron that out. And then also I'm going to go to Mike at the beginning wanted to know how to find his address or his legislators. And I just want to, and Mike, I'm going to do that with you one-on-one. Okay. But for anybody who might not know, I'm gonna just go through here really quickly so that you can replicate this at home. You should go to ledge.wa.gov. And Anthony, will you put that link in the chat, pretty please,
Sure.
so that other people have it? I'm gonna go to find your district right here on the left-hand side. I'm gonna click on find your district. Okay. I'm gonna put in my own street address because I don't care if anybody knows my address. But Mike, if you stay on after everybody gets off, I'm gonna do this for you too, okay? So I put in my address here to District Finder. I'm gonna click Find My District. And oh my gosh, this gives me a treasure trove of information. Can everyone see this? Over here, I see that I've got at the state level, I've got Senator Jeannie Darneal, Representative Lori Jenkins, and Representative Jake Fye. In the congressional level, these are the people that go back to Washington, D.C. and help us in Washington, D.C. We've got Senator Murray, Senator Cantwell, and Representative Adam Smith in the House, okay? So we've all got the same two senators, but you're gonna have a different House member depending on what congressional district that you live in, all right? So that's how you find who represents you. And then these are all hyperlinked. So I can go click on the names of each of these people and learn more about them. So Lori Jenkins, we will learn, is the Speaker of the House. Boy, that sounds important, right? So let me know if you or your organization want a more individualized or customized training on kind of just some basic civic stuff and how to get more information on accessing the legislature. Okay, that's it. Those are the questions that were top of mind for me and I wanted to address.
Does anyone else have any questions or questions they need answered, or any like requests of what we need to do to more broaden this group for in the future?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you have anything?
I do
more?
one quick thing.
Oh, go ahead, Kyle.
It's good, like I said before, it's good to do everybody that's all the different buckets, transportation, housing, etc., to keep on doing this check-in every couple of months, every 2 to 3 months, just to see where they're at and also to see a timeline through this process. So that, because I know, and when I was on the last time around, we had this person that came in to help us out, but otherwise, I think our timelines and the way we're going it right now is doing really good. And just keep pushing this thing straight forward so that, as we know, it's going to be a multi-year project, but this is just getting started.
Such a great point, Kyle. I forgot to address that. As we know, a few months ago, we brought on a person who is a trained facilitator and experiences marginalization at multiple intersections. They had a real loss, a family crisis that took them out of the workforce for a bit. They are coming back online, and I'll be meeting with them later in the month to get them back up to speed and woven into our work. So that hasn't gone away. It's just been waylaid or held up just a bit because of this person's unique family crisis that happened. So I look forward to them returning probably for our November and or December meetings.
We have Tracy with her hand up. Good on.
I just wanted to let you guys know that I am on the today. Today's my last day. I'm doing the homeless conference. I got a scholarship, so today is our last day, and I got some information for the housing part for everybody. So today's the last day of it, and I got some information from there.
Wonderful. Did you get to see Ibram X. Kendi as the keynote? Is it that
Yes, I
housing
did.
conference? Wonderful.
Yes, I did.
Very good.
Yes, and yeah, I got a scholarship, so I went to all the keynote, and I'm on the waiting for the last one, but I got some information, and today I also got the information about the eviction and everything. They did a slide today, and it's on the website, and they will have the recording once I can get. Just want to let you know I'm all, and I spoke up for our how about housing, how we are working on it.
Wonderful. Thanks, Tracy.
All right, Krista.
Oh, I was gonna say, Tracy, maybe you can hook the housing people into this process as well. It would be great we talk about housing and how we need housing, and I don't think DDA is gonna start providing housing anytime soon, but anyway, so I still have concerns, and the board still has concerns, but we'll see what happens when it comes time to vote. I'm wondering what gets prioritized and how that gets decided. I think everybody's wondering that still, and how that shakes out. And then we'll see if the organizations then choose to sign on. So I guess that's my question. If there's multiple points where individuals sign on, because I think my organization, like probably some others out there, were nervous about signing on before they knew what they were signing on to. So within the timeline, when does that happen within the North Star process?
Well, this hasn't been done before. So I would say that you're probably your next point to decide if you want to be supportive or not would be to see the bill draft language. So that's my best guess, Krista.
You got a question, Krista, in the chat. I'll let you answer that one. Okay, thank you. Any more questions or concerns? Going once, going twice. Oh, Craig, go ahead.
I just want us all to really give Adrian a big hand, because I don't know if everyone realizes how much work this takes. And
Yeah.
My God, I'm glad it's you and not me. Thank you.
Thank you, Craig. Thank you. Thank you. Well, many hands make light work. So thank you all.
Yep. Well, no more. I want to thank everyone for coming today. And if you have any, more questions or concerns, I put my email in the chat. It's anthony@pfow.org. And I'm sure Adrian would put hers too.
I sure can.
And
okay.
Let's just keep working all our efforts, working together as a team, and try to get this all these workshops and get as many voices heard.
Thanks, everyone. See you next time. Take good care.
Have a good weekend, everybody.